if I told you that everything we currently think we know about reality, matter, space, and time, might just be one spectacular illusion? That materialist science, for all of its success, has missed something fundamental. No, I'm not proposing that we start burning physics books. I'm simply asking, does scientific materialism actually hold up under scrutiny? Spoiler alert, no, it doesn't. But let's be rational about this, shall we? Before we tear materialism apart, we need to equip ourselves with a couple of tools, the two foundational principles of Illuminism, the principle of sufficient reason, or PSR, and Occam's razor. The principle of sufficient reason is articulated by Leibniz as follows. There can be no fact, real or existing, no statement true, unless there be a sufficient reason why it should be so and not otherwise. In other words, everything must have an explanation and nothing happens without cause. That's right, folks. There are absolutely no free miracles in this universe. Occam's razor, which is really just an extension of the PSR, states, among competing hypotheses, the one with the fewest assumptions should be selected. This means that the simplest explanation with the fewest assumptions wins, and does so without any convoluted 11-dimensional acrobatics required. Everything in ontological mathematics and Illuminism emerges from these two core principles. They also serve as powerful tools in exposing the critical flaws of modern scientific materialism. Brace yourself. Scientific materialists say everything is made of matter, yet fail miserably at explaining where matter came from. They state that matter is formed by atoms, which are ultimately theorized to be made of one-dimensional strings, vibrating in 11 dimensions, and that most of these dimensions are rolled up so tightly we'll never be able to see them. Okay, cool, but where the hell was all of this matter before the Big Bang? That awkward silence you just heard? That's the sound of the materialists struggling for answers. Surely you don't believe the universe just popped into existence from nowhere, right? Surely it didn't just conjure itself into existence, right? It's absurd to suggest that something as vast as existence could spontaneously erupt from non-existence. Yet, when pressed, proponents of scientific materialism will evade the issue, asserting that you can't meaningfully discuss what came before the Big Bang, as time itself supposedly starts there, that there was no before. Well, isn't that convenient? But wait, isn't that also the ultimate violation of the PSR? As Descartes rightly told us, effects cannot have more reality than their causes. Which means that if the universe is real, then whatever preceded it must be every bit as real. Yet scientists routinely refuse to acknowledge this because it falls outside of their dogmatic materialist paradigm. As Terence McKenna brilliantly put it, modern science is based on the principle, give us one free miracle and we'll explain the rest. The one free miracle is the appearance of all the mass and energy in the universe and all the laws that govern it in a single instant from nothing. Even if scientists were able to explain the rest, and spoiler alert, they won't. If they can't explain where the very matter the universe comes from, we will never have a true grand unified theory of everything. At best, all we're left with is a series of reasonably reliable heuristics about the physical. Heuristics that can be reinterpreted in infinite number of ways. And honestly, if your theory of everything is subject to endless reinterpretation, is it really a theory of everything, or a series of educated guesses carefully crafted to support quantum miracles? You see, the leading explanation scientists offer is that the Big Bang resulted from an unreal quantum fluctuation, essentially turning nothing into everything. Hold on. Everything in existence spawned from non-existence? That's not science. That's David Blaine's next special on Netflix. What's the sufficient reason for this? What properties does unreality have to produce this result? Because a true non-existence has no properties. no characteristics, no potential, no capacity to do anything at all. It's quite literally nothing. And since non-existence has no properties, then how the heck does it suddenly explode into existence? The state before the Big Bang must have at least had the inherent potential to become reality. But what does that mean? Why did it happen 13.7 billion years ago, or 26.7 billion years ago, and not 100 billion years ago, or 100 years ago, or infinitely long ago? Equally importantly, how does raw matter, following nothing but the lifeless laws of physics, magically produce life, evolution, and consciousness? Here, science throws in the towel. No sufficient reason, no causal chain, just a cosmic shoulder shrug, and we don't know. As Mike Hockney said, science results in nothing but a huge collection of ad hoc hypotheses, with no necessary connections with each other. Is there any connection between gravity and Darwinism, for example, or quantum mechanics and gravity, or quantum mechanics and Darwinism, or relativity and Darwinism, or Darwinism and the Big Bang, or the Big Bang and the law of conservation of energy, or Darwinism and Schrodinger's cat, or Darwinism and special relativity, or the Big Bang and special relativity? It's impossible to fit these hypotheses into a single, complete, consistent, necessary, and eternal system, such as is needed to rationally and logically explain existence. When viewed as a whole, scientific materialism is just a Frankenstein of disconnected ideas, stitched together like a toddler's art project, scotch tape and glitter, and absolutely no coherent theme. It's not a true unified theory because it has no rational foundation tying all of its disparate parts together. So, what do scientists do? They keep adding more ad hoc hypotheses to patch the gaps. The problem? At a certain point, you're not doing science anymore. You're making a mythology. According to materialism, the physical universe just emerged out of an unreal nothingness. And then consciousness emerged out of quantum mechanics, somehow transitioning from a non-deterministic system into the deterministic laws of physics that somehow gave rise to thinking minds. This has the exact same explanatory power as saying the physical universe magicked itself into existence, and then dead physical matter magicked itself to life. That is to say, absolutely no explanation at all. Science relies on the so-called laws of physics to explain everything, declaring that they're the driving force of the universe, but where did those laws come from? Are they materialistic? And if so, where are they physically stored? How does every particle in the universe know how to behave at every instant? And why do these laws remain perfectly consistent across time, without decay, variation, or failure? If all material things are subject to change, why aren't the laws that govern them subject to the same principle? Are we dealing with a kind of Cartesian substance dualism, where the laws of physics exist independently of the material world they operate on? Oh, but wait. Science has an answer to all of this. And by answer, I mean the biggest violation of the PSR and Occam's razor imaginable. We live in a multiverse. Yes, the multiverse. More like the ultimate cosmic slot machine, where you just keep pulling the lever until some universe spits out the jackpot. Hey, maybe in one of those universes, scientists have finally stopped being so ignorant and contemptuous towards rational arguments. So, according to materialism, the answer to where do the laws of physics come from is no explanation at all. That's just the way that it is. Very scientific. Here's another shocking failure of modern science: its utter inability to in any way explain life and mind. Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am." This ought to be an indisputable fact. Consciousness is self-evident. yet science does everything in its power to dispute it. First, the miracle of the Big Bang. Then, another miracle, the appearance of life and mind from non-living matter that is governed by purely mechanical, mindless physical laws. Science calls this process emergence. We call it what it is, magic. What is the sufficient reason for non-life to become life? There is no rational, sufficient reason for how non-living parts with no mental elements could be combined in such a way to produce the so-called epiphenomena of life and mind. In the same way that you cannot pull existence from non-existence, you cannot pull life from non-life. Yet, here we are, thinking, perceiving, reasoning, and materialists would have us believe that this was just a lucky accident? To quote David Sinclair, "No materialist has provided even one reason, not one, to believe that life can come from lifelessness, mind from mindlessness, and consciousness from things that are inherently devoid of consciousness or the seed of consciousness, which is, of course, the unconscious, that which is the state that precedes consciousness and generates consciousness from its own inherent operations." No scientist at any point in history could have ever said, "Aha! It was obvious all along that if you took lifeless things and mixed them around for a while, life would appear." That's because it's not obvious in any way. It's totally opposed to reason and logic. It constitutes a category error and blatant magic. It belongs to the order of religious miracles. If a religious person was making such claims, they would be relentlessly mocked and ridiculed. We don't feel any need not to do the same for materialists when they spout so much insane drivel. So riddle me this. Why does materialist science keep getting a free pass after spending roughly a century trying to unify quantum field theory with general relativity when it will never happen? Why will it never happen? Because there is no unified, rational foundation between these theories. Scientific theories are ad hoc, patched together with arbitrary assumptions. And the only reason science has achieved anything is because it has borrowed mathematics, a rationalist subject which stands in direct opposition to empiricism. Indisputably, mathematics is the only reason for the incredible technological achievements of the modern world. If you stripped math away from science, materialism would collapse instantly, taking us back to the Dark Ages. The world needs a final paradigm shift, a transition from scientific materialism to ontological mathematics, the only rational system that accounts for the observed phenomena of physics while completing the metaphysical picture that materialism has failed to provide. It's the only way to create a true final theory of everything. Materialists claim mathematics is just a useful tool for describing our collective reality, the material universe, but that's backwards, and the exact opposite is the truth. Reality is mathematics. Materialism, a useful, yet false, interpretation of our mathematical universe. Over the course of more than 230 books, the PI's AC authors have rigorously analyzed the limitations of scientific materialism, demonstrating how the rational idealist system of ontological mathematics accounts not only for the observed phenomena physics relies on, but also reveals the metaphysical framework that materialism leaves unexamined. As Mike Hockney put it, if you want the provable truth, math is the only game in town. That's an unassailable, adamantine fact. Live with it. Science is a sham, a fraud, a lie. Science is pseudo-intellectualism. It can never be real intellectualism because it's not based on reason, logic, and deduction, but on the delusional, unreliable, fallible, irrational sense organs. Scientists think that things are true only insofar as they have phenomenal, observable evidence for them, and thus automatically dismissing the whole of noumenal reality from which the phenomenal world is actually constructed Science, to put it another way, dismisses the noumenal truth from the outset and worships nothing but the phenomenal lie. Science is all about appearances, but ultimate reality has no appearance, hence is forever unreachable by science. If you haven't understood that what we see isn't a true depiction of what's actually there, you haven't understood anything. You're an empiricist, not a rationalist. So you should never say you're on the side of reason and logic. You emphatically aren't. You're a person of faith. There are numerous other glaring inconsistencies within the existing empiricist materialist paradigm, which have been thoroughly debunked by the PI's AC authors, including the demonstrable instances of the placebo and nocebo effects, how final truths cannot lie in empiricist theories that are only one new observation away from being falsified, how the endless division of physical particles results in infinite regress, the interaction problem between mind and matter, and how the scientific method's first step, making an empirical observation, immediately denies the possibility of a rational, non-empirical order of existence. Can you think of any more? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.
If you enjoyed this video, like it, leave a comment, and subscribe for more. Also, be sure to check out our link tree in the description to discover more and connect with us. You can also visit illumination.nexus or visit reddit.com/r/thegrailsearch and speak with us there. Thank you for watching.